the 2023 Raptor R. Don't hate and get a V8. Ford listened to the immense customer demand and added back a V8 to the Raptor lineup. For this third generation, as a package, you can get the Raptor R. It's about $40,000, and Ford shoehorns in the GT500 Predator 5.2 liter supercharged V8 that is cross-plane crank. Obviously, there's some internal changes, but it makes 700 horsepower and 650 foot-pounds of torque. Now, let's be honest, we've already had some third-generation Raptor experiences. Mark went 0G with his beloved chocolate-covered strawberries in the V6 Raptor in Joliet. We had a walk-around with one of the development leads of the Raptor R in Michigan, and of course, we attended the launch program where I got to jump Mark, dislodge his spleen, and overall terrorize him. However, this is the real world. We're back in Illinois. And the sad truth is, the majority of Raptor Rs are going to be mall crawled, they're going to tailgate you in traffic, and then be torn around on B roads, at least country B roads, and that's what we're going to try to do in this video. The Raptor R is essentially just a package on the 37-inch tire-equipped regular V6 Raptor. In fact, there are essentially no changes. It maintains the 5-link rear end, which is the big evolution for the third-generation Raptor. They ditched the leaf springs, they went to coils on the back, which helps them maintain superior traction levels, which is what they needed to add in 700 horsepower. The rest of the truck is what you know. It's got adaptive Fox dampers, has an unbelievable amount of travel, enormous tires. We've covered this in depth in our original video. It is a very capable truck with a tremendous amount of electromechanical systems that allow it to do what it does, which essentially is near Baja trophy truck levels of performance in a truck you can buy at your dealership, assuming you're okay with a $50,000 markup. Now let's talk about drivetrain, because that's the big story. This is the Predator 5.2 liter V8. It's right out of the GT500. However, there had to be some changes for the Raptor R. Starting off with oiling, there are slight changes to oiling in the head. Gets a different oil pan due to the fact that this is going to be tilted at higher approach and departure angles than a GT500 will ever experience. The intake system is entirely different. It's been tuned specifically to make more torque and less horsepower. In truck applications, you want low down torque, and honestly, you're not living up high in the RPM band. When it comes to the gearbox, obviously it is four-wheel drive with the ability to go rear-wheel drive, which makes this distinct versus something like a TRX, but you don't get a dual clutch like you get in the GT500. You get Ford's ubiquitous 10-speed automatic, which has been tuned specifically to the Raptor R's application. Now, when it comes to exterior and interior, it's essentially the same as a regular Raptor. It's a 5.5-foot bed, it gets a wide body, and it's very well equipped in the interior space. They figured out storage in the doors, the infotainment works well, the seats are incredibly comfortable. These basically Recaro sport seats are heated and cooled, very comfortable. The rear seat area is enormous. You can use this as your only vehicle. It's very practical in that regards. Ergonomics are near perfect, great storage solutions in the center console area. I mean, this is stuff we've all talked about. Ford knows that the F-150 is the most important thing to the product portfolio, and they've done an excellent job with this thing. They have not screwed it up. Now, with all of that said, I think it's time for us to take this for a drive on our favorite back road.
Jack, tell me why you'd pay $150,000 worth of markup for this truck.
Mark, if I was in charge of Ford marketing, I would name this thing the Meathead Masterpiece. Yeah!
Rolling burnouts in a fucking V8 truck for $150,000, so that's why you'd pay for this?
Basically, you take the TRX, you make the engine a little less special, and then you disconnect the front axles. That's what you get with this thing. You get a truck that can light them up. Yeah. Yeah.
Jesus. I need to change your name and put some type of supercar tie-in with your name so you could be the douchebag influencer that buys this just to break it for views.
I mean, honestly, right, this truck is so unreasonably pointless that it is tremendous in its excess.
Who's buying this? Like Raptor enthusiasts, people that love the Raptor and just want the V8?
People who have the anatomy of a Ken doll and they want to compensate for that, or, and that's the one extreme, right? The Raptor enthusiast that's like V6 isn't enough.
No, that's me. I hate the V6 Raptor. But
Well, then you buy this, or you
no,
buy
I'm
a
not
TRX.
spending 150 or I'm sorry, 150 with markups or 200 with markups. Are you fucking crazy?
Yeah.
I don't care if this thing does. I told you this earlier. I don't care if it has a V8, a V12. This thing is not worth that kind of money. I could get it for TRX prices.
Yeah. The problem is the price, right? The Pro is, it's amazing. The problem is it's too much goddamn money. But in a couple of years, when they stop making this thing, you're going to wish you had one. And I think that's sort of like the summary of this truck.
If you love trucks and you want a collectible truck, I'm sure this thing's going to be worth $1 kajillion in 20 years, because it is special in what it is today. It's hard to put in perspective. I keep looking at all these cars and trucks that we're getting into, and I'm so checked out. I'm like, how are people affording $150,000 for like all these different types of weird cars? They're not worth this type of money. But at the same time, like when you remove yourself from the price tag and you kind of connect it, the engineering part that they did with this, and we did off-roading stuff.
And it's incredible what it can do.
It is, but when you get it on the street, it's really, really hard for me to justify this as a street truck other than just having money to blow on it.
I think the regular core Raptor, and I said this to you off camera, I don't like trucks, right? I hate having to drive them in traffic. They're too big. They're hard to get in and out of parking spots. Like, they're so big now because they have to be all things, all people.
Yeah.
Trucks in the past were work vehicles or off-road vehicles. Now you buy a pickup truck to use it as like a Suburban.
Yeah.
Like Pat Long, a Porsche race car driver, told me that. He's like, the reason I buy GMC pickup trucks is they cost less than a Yukon and it's the same shit. And to that point, it's also the problem I have with driving trucks around. They're too big. But the Raptor, particularly with a 5-link rear end, rides so well.
It does ride well. I mean, you also have probably, $10,000+ worth of damper tech in this truck. I mean, that makes a huge difference in terms of ride quality on the street. So, I mean, we talked about it to death in the past Raptor videos. This is no different. It's just now we have it on the street to see what it's like to live with, and there's not a lot of livability issues aside from the
9.4 miles per gallon.
Yeah, I mean that's obvious. The TRX is going to be the same shit. If you're really using this, you don't care about fuel economy.
No, you don't. You're buying this because the motor is comical, and unlike the TRX, it does burnouts. I mean, other than that, man, I mean, it rides maybe a little better. I think the interior is better, and based upon our experience with Dodge products versus Ford products, I hate to say I think the Ford is marginally going to be more reliable than a TRX is going to be.
Yeah.
But other than that, man, I mean, I'm really happy Ford makes it. It
is a cool truck. Like, this is, and I know we said this before, like in the previous videos, it's the thing, if you were a kid and you liked like trucks and cars and all that, this is the embodiment of everything that you thought of. It's shouty on the outside. It looks the part. It feels the part. It can do jumps. It makes V8 noises. It can do burnouts. It's just, do you put a value on paying that type of price for this in something that's not,
It's not particularly fun to drive, to be honest, outside of doing what I just did, which you would never do in your own truck.
Get
You
your
would
ass
never
thrown in
do
jail.
that. Yeah. To me, I hate to be that guy. If you like the way this thing looks and you like the off-road performance and the all-weather performance, I wish they made the regular Raptor with the Coyote V8 instead of the EcoBoost, and it would be sort of like that perfect truck to me.
To me, like the thing that I think that it's missing, and I hate to say this because the GT500, when I think of, I've never been a Ford muscle car, pony car, all that type of person until I got into the 350 and the 350R, and then we got in the GT500. The 500 is one of the most incredible experiences that you will have ever driving a car. It's loud, it's obnoxious, it's fast as f***, it's super capable. There's something about this and the TRX that has been nerfed. It's not ridiculous enough. Like, I'm not saying the capabilities aren't there, but it's so subdued and so like, I can't even say it. I feel like they softened every edge of this truck to a point where it should be like ridiculous to drive, and it's just, When you're driving like normal,
I mean, like the old Dodge Ram SRT10?
Yeah. There's too much refinement to this thing.
I see your point. I mean, I talked to the engineer, and I guess this is getting into more of a philosophical conversation. Because again, if you want to learn how this thing drives, go watch our other 2 Raptor videos.
Yeah, that's not what this is about.
At this price point of truck, right? It is. Let's say you're paying sticker, like $118, whatever. You're an older gentleman at that point,
Yeah,
right?
right.
And if you're an older gentleman, you're not going to want to put up, at least in the product planner's eyes, with a truck that just annihilates you to ride in. And I think that's the advantage this has, is that it does everything. It's just, to your point.
I feel like there's other things to do that. We're in the last days of these types of, unless regulations change, we're in the last days of these big V8, like monster style, obnoxious gas guzzlers. And when we get to the quiet electric car era, you're going to be faster than this. You're going to do bigger rolling burnouts. You're going to obliterate tires in 2 seconds, and they're going to do everything better once they advance them. So why not embrace the fact that this is what it is? You're buying this because it's got a V8 in it. I want to hear it. I want to hear it like I do in the GT350, 16 miles away. I want to feel like my body is actually under the engine bay, and that's not what this is. And I think it's a missed opportunity to take it to the next level. And to be fair, you're going to aftermarket the shit out of this thing, even with everything sorted out. You're still going to have to do exhaust and things to take it up a notch. Otherwise, you're just buying a regular Raptor at that point. I really do. I think you're getting a lot with the regular V6 Raptor already that this almost does identically.
So with that, Mark, I agree with you. And let's head into the final thoughts. Final thoughts on the Ford Raptor R. This is a truck that pulls at the heartstrings. This is a want versus need vehicle. Do you need a $120,000 Brodozer with a supercharged V8 that gets single-digit fuel economy? Yes, you do. You absolutely need it. But honestly, the regular Raptor, if you like what this truck has to offer, does 98% of it other than sound like a V8. And that's just the truth. And I guess if you are looking at this as the last hurrah for vehicles like this, like many of you are, you're going to love this thing. You're going to pay $160,000 with dealer markup and enjoy every single second of it. However, objectively, it's a lot of money for a truck, and most of the time, at least if you live out here in the Midwest, you're not going to be doing anything with it. It rides well. It is incredibly capable. But if you're just going to be putzing around in traffic, going to Whole Foods, in some ways, I think you're better off spending less money and just getting a TRX and getting it stolen and getting carjacked and all that other fun stuff. With that, thanks for watching. Hope to see you soon.